Hi guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Creative Outlier 1 V2. Now for those who are not aware, the Creative Outlier 1, the originals, and the 1 Plus were one of my favorite budget earphones, and the V2s take it another step forwards. Now these earphones can be found for around £35, so a £5 premium over the regular one, and the same price as the 1 Plus, and that can be found on Amazon. If you're interested in buying them, make sure you check out the locally link in the description below. It'll take you to your localized Amazon store. Now within the box, what you'll find is the earphones themselves, a carrying pouch, a user manual, a micro USB to USB cable, and some extra silicone tips and a different type of fin. So you've got the fins over here. If you don't like these fin design, then you can get rid of them and change them to a silicone design. There's also some ear tips that are medium, large, and small, as you might expect for the right seal. Now in terms of the design of the earphones, they've improved very slightly over their predecessors, mainly because of the fact that they have a magnetic clasp which puts them together. Therefore, if they're hanging around your neck, they'll stay together, whilst the originals don't have that design. So I've got the original one, and I've also got the one Plus, which has the integrated 4GB of memory. So using if MP3, if you don't have to use your phone with it. Anyway, in terms of the design of it, other than that, it's worth bearing in mind this has more of like a glossy finish, whereas these ones had a little bit more of a matte finish. And it's also worth bearing in mind that they're slightly larger. You can see that they do stick out just a little bit more than the older variant did. Now that won't be an issue to most people. My fiance wears these and she's got relatively small ear canals and ears, versus me, which is I'm like an elephant basically. So in comparison, it won't be a problem, and these fit perfectly in her ears as well, and she's been using them so much so that these actually have kind of reached their end of life. These ones, they're so well used. Anyway, the earphones themselves also have a little fin which can be removed, as I mentioned before, and replaced with a normal non-fin variant. They've also got silicone earbuds, and as I said, that can be adjusted to do with your size and your fit, so it's great to see. And also, for those who might be aware of Creative's previous products, it's great to see that they've integrated the filter, one, making it metallic, and secondly, making it within the nozzle. Whereas the old ones had this little filter which would kind of peel off after time, and the glue would kind of get rid of. You can see this one has the filter still on it, whilst this one's lost it altogether. So it's great to see a Creative adjusted, kind of address that, and it's something that some people might not actually pick up on, but it's just worth bearing that in mind. Now, other than that, in terms of design, in terms of build quality, it's worth bearing in mind these are IPX5 certified. What does that mean? That means they can take a small little water amount, or it's like a jet that goes onto the earphones themselves. Whereas these ones were IPX4 certified, which means light drizzle and sweat. Now, are you really going to use IPX5? Probably not. I can't see why you ever would. It's just good to see that it's an improvement over the IPX4 certification, but it's nothing to be overly concerned about, because most people will never be even using them to that IPX5 certification. Other than that, it's also worth bearing in mind these have got Bluetooth 5.0. Now, that doesn't really add that much of a difference, because most of the time your phone's going to be in your pocket or in your bag or something. It's going to be relatively close by. It does add a bit of extra range, but from my test, all of these earphones last about 10 to 15 meters through walls and had no issues whatsoever. In terms of battery life, it's very much coated like the old Outlier 1. In other words, they've got 9.5 hours of playback time, whilst the 1 Plus take it to 10 hours. And then there's the Outlier Sports, which have 11 hours of playback time. So that's great to see. In terms of playback time, perfectly acceptable. In terms of charging, you have to use micro USB ports. I would have liked to see USB-C, but again, at this price point, it's to be expected. It does take about 1 to 2 hours to charge to full. In terms of controls, you have got a play pause button, and also volume up and down, and also you've got an integrated microphone. And these earphones, unlike their predecessors, also support Siri and Google Assistant, so you can access that directly from your earphones and do those voice commands if you use those voice assistants. So that's also great to see. Then also, it's worth bearing in mind these have got a little cable management thing, which basically means that you can adjust the length that goes behind your neck. So yes, these do fit behind the neck, and then the earphones go obviously in your ears, and they're worn straight down. In other words, straight down, which means just like that rather than over the ear. So there we go in terms of the design. And then also, it's worth bearing in mind for people who are not accustomed to the older variants, is that these got a flat cable, which is great for in terms of anti-tangling. So they don't really get tangled at all, to be honest with you. They come out really quickly, and specifically now, because you can clasp them together, it makes it even better to kind of like anti-tangle them. So now, moving on from that, it's also worth bearing in mind the microphone quality. It's not really been improved over its predecessors. It's pretty much the same. You'd be better off taking calls directly from your smartphone, but you know, they're perfectly acceptable. But just don't expect it to block out a lot of background noise when you're on a call. And this is like more by your neck or you know, by your shoulder, depending on how tall or how long your neck is. Moving on from that, it is worth bearing in mind that the earphones only support the SBC codec. The SBC codec is the lowest form of codec that's available on Bluetooth. It's a shame that they haven't integrated aptX or AEC like they did on the Outlier Sports. But anyway, that's a creative decision. I just would have liked to see that codec supported, given that these are new versions over its predecessors. Now, finally, let's talk about the sound quality of these earphones. Now, for those who know me, they will know that I've recommended these earphones a lot in the past, specifically for people looking for earphones under £50 and they're looking for wireless products. I usually recommend these ones just because they're just such good value for money in terms of their sound quality. And the same could be said about the Outlier 1 V2. Very much the exact same sound signature. You've got a pretty warm sounding signature, so it's kind of like a V-shaped, or not say V-shaped sound signature. So you got accentuated bass, good sort of response. It's not too uncontrolled. It sounds pretty good, and it's not overpowering. You've got a decent extension in the sub bass response as well, so you've got a nice little rumble. In terms of the mids, they are pushed back, they are veiled a little bit, but they do sound accurate. In other words, they sound like as the artist would have expected them, or if you're listening to podcasts, the voice of your presenters. So that sounds all really good. But I'm just saying that in comparison to more expensive earphones, they will sound a little bit recessed and pushed back and warmer sounding. Then in terms of the highs, they're a little bit accentuated, specifically over its predecessors. I think that's the difference between that little that metal nozzle filter versus the paper one. It just makes a slight little bit difference, making them a slightly little bit more sibilant, a little bit more harsher on the ears. Not to the point where it's uncomfortable. So it's perfectly acceptable. However, it's just worth bearing in mind if you're coming from predecessors, you might notice them to be a little bit more sensitive on the higher end. Now, one thing that really I love about the sound quality of all these three earphones over here is the soundstage. The soundstage, the width and the depth in terms of the instrument separation that you get as well from these earphones is phenomenal. And for £35, actually you'd be hard pressed to find something better at £50 in terms of that, produce that sort of overall sound stage and sound signature. It's just really nice to hear, and it just overall I think Creative done a fantastic job. I think the extra spacing as well does give them a little bit of an edge as well. They have a better, a slightly better depth over their predecessors and versus the market. They're far better than other earphones you can find out there. So to summarize, guys, these are fantastic earphones. For £35, I think you're gonna be absolutely loving these Outlier 1 V2s. I'm not paid, sponsored, or anything like that, but I'm Creative. I just really love what they've done over here, and specifically with these earphones, they're such budget earphones that most people will be looking at getting them from, like, let's say the stock earphones that come with your phone or whatever it might be. So if you're looking for cheap, inexpensive Bluetooth earphones, then look no further than the Outlier 1 V2. I think they're a definite improvement over the Outlier 1, and I'll definitely suggest them over the Outlier 1. So I think it's a good shout. If you're looking for something with integrated MP3, however, I would definitely still consider the 1 Plus instead. Purely because it's got that 4GB of storage which you can take around with you and not have to have your phone with you. But anyway, worth considering all three of them. But as I said before, if I had to choose one, it'd probably be this, because I don't need an integrated 4GB storage. So there we go, guys. I've been Totally Dubbed. Make sure you give it a like if you like this video, like the honest content. Definitely favorite and share if you feel that it'll be helpful to someone, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care and bye-bye.